WWE wrestlers win a match by pinning their opponent's shoulders to the mat. However, pinning someone to the wall works too. In 2001, Kurt Angle, Big Show, and The Rock fought in a Hardcore Falls Count Anywhere match for the Hardcore Championship. Since the Hardcore title was defended 24/7, anyone could get involved, which is what happened. Multiple wrestlers ran into the ring, and the fight eventually went backstage. To win the match, Big Show pinned Essa Rios to the wall, and the referee counted it. However, the wall doesn't even have to be solid in order to use it for a pinfall. At Fully Loaded 1999, Al Snow and Big Boss Man fought in their own Hardcore match. The fight ended up outside the arena, where Boss Man handcuffed Al Snow to a fence. Boss Man then covered Al with his foot, and the referee counted the pin and awarded Big Boss Man the victory. I guess when they say falls count anywhere, they really mean anywhere. Speaking of pinfalls, wrestlers can use more than just their bodies to keep a wrestler down for the 3 count. This is shown during The Rock and Mankind's famous Empty Arena match in 1999. To win, Mankind used a pallet on a forklift to keep the Great One down for the pinfall. This loophole was used again over 15 years later at TLC 2014, when the Big Show used steel steps to help get the pin over Eric Rowan. Weapons like chairs, tables, even sledgehammers and barbed wire are all legal in WWE, as long as the match is no disqualification, of course. However, a chainsaw is a perfectly legitimate weapon in WWE, and it has been used before. In late 1997, a wrestler named Chainsaw Charlie debuted in WWE. As his name would suggest, he had a chainsaw with them and would actually use it during some matches. Fortunately, Charlie wasn't put in any last man standing matches because they would have been over pretty quickly. The chainsaw got brought back in 2016 after Terry Funk gifted one to Dean Ambrose. Dean was going to use the weapon against Brock Lesnar, but the beast got to Ambrose before the chainsaw could be turned on. I bet you didn't know this, but it's illegal in WWE for a wrestler to hit their opponent when they are between the ropes. This actually became a storyline in 2010 when Kofi Kingston won a match after getting Trouble in Paradise while Jack Swagger was exiting the ring.
And WWE rules clearly state if you're struck while you're in the ropes, that is illegal.
Speaking of ropes, we all know that a wrestler can't have their feet touching the ropes when they go for a pin. However, did you also know that a wrestler can't have their feet under the ropes either? This rule was brought to light during Dean Ambrose and Triple H's match at Roadblock back in 2016. After a physical battle, Dean hit the Dirty Deeds and got the 1-2-3 on the game. However, the referee immediately called off the pin because Dean's foot was under the rope. The reason is that a pinfall has to take place inside the ring. The ring ropes show what counts as inside the ring, so when Dean's foot was underneath the rope, he was technically outside the ring, and therefore his pinfall didn't count. This is the reason why Falls Count Anywhere matches exist. This rule about pinfalls needing to take place in the ring actually extends to no DQ matches as well. In 2019, Shane McMahon fought The Miz in a steel cage match. The Miz was going for a pin, but Shane got his foot on the rope. Fans and even commentators were confused because steel cage matches are no DQ, therefore rope breaks don't count. Again though, a pinfall has to take place inside the ring, and since Shane's foot went over the rope, he wasn't technically in the squared circle, making the pin useless. This rule was also seen during the Fatal 5-Way match at WrestleMania 36 for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Tamina went to cover Lacey Evans, but since Tamina had her hands on the rope, she wasn't in the ring, and her pin wouldn't be counted. Now this rule is pretty dumb, but it exists nonetheless. To get eliminated from the Royal Rumble, a wrestler has to go over the top rope and both feet hit the floor. However, there's no rule saying you can't have something or someone break your fall. In the 2018 Rumble match, Kofi Kingston got sent out of the ring, but since Kofi's right foot landed on Xavier Woods and was later placed on pancakes, it didn't count as an elimination. Kofi did get back into the ring soon after, but he could have stayed on the outside for as long as he wanted. Another WWE wrestler used this trick in order to win a WWE title match. In 2008, a 10-man battle royal was set up, with the winner being part of a championship scramble match. Big Show was one of the participants and dominated most of the match. The Giant threw Brian Kendrick out of the ring, but didn't see Ezekiel Jackson, Kendrick's advisor, catch him. Jackson held Kendrick for the rest of the match until Big Show thought he had won and walked over the top rope and landed on the floor. This made Brian Kendrick the winner and technically led to him being the WWE champion for about 6 minutes. Any WWE fan knows that when a champion loses their title, they automatically get a rematch. In April 2012, Primo and Epico lost their tag team championship to Kofi Kingston and R-Truth. Soon after, they'd be managed by a man named AEW. AEW. However, AEW didn't have Primo and Epico use their championship rematch, and after 30 days, the automatic rematch expired. Because of that, the Puerto Rican cousins had to compete in a number 1 contenders match to get another shot, where AEW betrayed them and joined up with Titus O'Neil and Darren Young. We all know what tapping out looks like. A wrestler slaps the mat repeatedly to tell the referee they quit. However, in order for a tap out to count, a wrestler has to hit the mat at least 3 times. This is why you'll sometimes see a wrestler slap the mat while in a submission hold, but it doesn't count as a tap out. This actually got used as part of a story when Sheamus fought Gunther in October 2022. The Celtic Warrior had Gunther in the clover leaf, and it looked like Gunther tapped out. However, he only slapped the mat twice, therefore the referee didn't call it, making Sheamus and the fans very upset. During Chris Jericho and CM Punk's 2012 rivalry, an interesting WWE rule would be revealed. During an episode of Raw, it looked like Jericho caught Punk drinking alcohol. Jericho tried to get Punk stripped of the WWE Championship because of the drinking, leading to an interesting rule being shared.
Any WWE superstar is prohibited from consuming alcohol within a 12-hour period of a WWE event.
In case you're wondering, it was all planned by Punk, and the Strange Wrestler never drank a drop of alcohol. However, I think Stone Cold Steve Austin would have an issue with this policy. Now here's a 2-part rule. In tag team matches, a tag team partner is allowed to get in the ring and break up a pinfall, even though they didn't get tagged in. However, if the team breaks up a pin a second time, they will get disqualified. It's not an officially stated rule, but it has been brought up.
To win the tag team gold right here, and Cody Rhodes quickly back up. Burn that save, Cody.
And each team's only allotted one breakup of a pinfall.
Now, of course, this rule isn't really enforced, and there have been plenty of tag team matches where wrestlers have broken up pin attempts multiple times without getting disqualified. However, there is an explanation for why referees don't enforce this rule, as explained by Daniel Bryan.
You know, it's like holding in the NFL. It happens every play.
Yes, right. But you can't call it every play,
Selective.
or nothing would ever get done. That's the point. Yeah,
Okay.
very good point.
Okay.
All these rules are part of the show, but there are some real backstage rules and traditions WWE wrestlers need to follow. To find out what they are, watch the video on screen.